Welcome back on the Good Morning Artesia radio show. And City Councilor Raul Rodriguez joins us here on the program. And last night, City Council met. And why don't you give us some highlights of what you guys worked on last night?
Well, we had a light agenda last night. Mayor Pro Tem was gone, and Mayor Ray Miller was out of town. So, like you said earlier, I drew the short straw, and I got to command the meeting for once, and it was really fun because sitting up there, you have a different view from where I sit on the side, but it was really good. There was about 20 people there total between city employees and guests in the audience. Newly elected Mayor John Henry was there. Newly elected Councilman Dickie Townley was there. And it's good to see them in the audience taking in what they're going to be doing. The next meeting on April the 8th will be the next meeting. April 1st is an important date, be swearing in of all the new candidates and newly elected officials, and that'll be Friday afternoon at 5:30 at City Hall. But basically, our agenda was light. We generally start out with determination of a quorum, which we had a quorum. We always do invocation and pledge, which makes me proud that we still get to honor our country and still get to pray. No requests of new facilities, department heads and city employees, no recognitions, no special reports. We did approve the consent agenda. The consent agenda, it comes positive, and you get a little sad on the other part because we did hire a couple of new employees out there at the wastewater plant, which we needed 2 employees, so we were able to hire them. We had the retirement of Jason Decker as a police corporal, so we hate to see him go, but proud that he reached his retirement. We had resignation of a couple of employees, and then we're going to fill some. We went out to fill some and advertise for some new positions in the city. We set a couple of public hearings for the April 12th meeting. So we have a couple of hearings there, and then we approved some travel and training for our leadership people in the police department. That and like the police chief said, this is kind of a time of year that all these trainings come up, and they are spread out amongst the officers, those that are desiring to go, whether it be criminal or investigations. Those are tailored to fit their needs and their career paths that they have. So we did have one public hearing, and that was for a final plat for the Campbell Summary Division out on Compress Road. So that passed unanimously. That usually goes before planning and zoning. And for those people out there in the public, we have these advisory boards, these committees out there that do a lot of preliminary for us. It passed them unanimously. Then it comes for the council, and it makes us a lot easier. And it saves a lot of discussion, also repeated discussions. So they did a good job, and they recommended unanimously that we approve it, and we did that. We had a period for hearing visitors, which we had none in the other than the newly elected officials. And then we went through committee reports, budget and finance, personnel, police and fire, planning, recreation, infrastructure, and government. We got some infrastructure projects coming up. One will be 20th Street from Main Street to Hermosa. So just to let the public know that they will be advising you of that project, because it will be another big project. And so we appreciate their patience. I know that sometimes it becomes a pain, but look at the final result, and that's what you got to look forward to.
Is that going to be a resurfacing project?
Yes.
Or is that going to be where they dig down and redo water lines, sewer lines?
They're going to dig down.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, Byron on his project report stated that they're waiting for some of the material delivery prior to digging, because you don't want to dig and have to wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks with what we were talking about previously, material.
Yeah, right, with a big old hole in the ground. And trying to. So that's going to affect traffic then, I guess,
yes,
a little bit on
yes.
20th.
And they have, I think they have gone out there and done some, they go out there and survey, and then they try to give advice to the citizens as the way traffic is going to be controlled.
Yeah, because 20th and Grand is a big intersection.
Yes.
And then you get to the other end, Hermosa, and
Yes.
20th is a big intersection, too.
So basically what that's going to hopefully do
Center,
is tie
where Center ties in, yeah.
Yep, that's going to tie in all that because it's going to affect the churches, you know. It's going to affect Yeso School. It'll affect Faith Baptist. It'll affect the Hermosa Church, Westside Church of Christ there. So it's going to affect a lot of things.
Catalyst churches, yeah.
And then the next project that we're talking about is 1st to 13th on Hermosa.
Okay.
So, you know, we've got a couple of big projects coming up for the new council in the next 4 years. Hopefully,
Catalyst is on 13th.
Yeah.
I got that wrong. I'm
but
sorry.
it'll tie in with 1st to 13th on Hermosa. But we will do our best and you know, ask for people to if they have any concerns, they can call us and let us know what their concerns are. But, you know, usually the people doing the contractual work do a good job of knocking and talking and advising the citizens of what's taking place. So basically that took place. Personnel was just other than the hirings. We had stats from our public safety department, which our police officer and fire department. Community development, Jim McGuire gave his report. Infrastructure, Byron always gets hit up because he's the infrastructure director. So these projects, we even talked about the light at First and Hermosa.
Yeah, that's
Still waiting on
offline. Parts.
Yes, sir.
Did somebody smack it, or did it just...
they ran into it. Yeah. So we're waiting actually for a relay switch. And, you know, who would think in this world that...
You know, maybe we ought to go to my transmitter building. I bet we got a bunch of old relays back there.
Do you remember back in the days, cars had an on and off toggle switch? You know,
Yeah.
So sometimes if you had a wiper motor and it was extremely costly for you to repair, I remember just tying in a toggle switch on and off.
Yeah.
You know, you just bypass the wires and tie it in, and okay, it's going to rain, so you turn on your toggle switch and your wipers work.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's all run by the computers. You can't do that.
No.
Yeah.
We used to do that on anti-theft devices also.
Yeah.
Back then when they were taking vehicles from the United States to Mexico, I remember Mr. Burgess was talking about that. And so you had all these salesmen calling about all these gadgets. And then he bought some, and then I finally told him one day, I said, hey, let's just go down to the local hardware store or to the parts stores and just get an on and off toggle switch. And most of those switches were designed to cut off the ignition part. My thought was I cut off the fuel pump. I mean, ignition, you can, if you figure it out, that's the guys at hotwire vehicles, they would just tie into the wires.
Yeah.
So that's where your switch was tied in. But I finally we was able to talk about it, and I was just convinced that you just cut off the fuel pump.
Yeah. And then as soon as the line gets
electric
empty.
fuel pump not coming on, you're not going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
But it was interesting.
A relay, huh?
Yeah.
You got a relay.
And so we had nothing from our city attorney. Our city clerk, Summer, is setting up we've had some budget and finance meetings. We had one last Friday. We've set one up for March the 31st with the incoming members and the incoming mayor and the budget and finance committee that's currently there. So we do advertise that we are going to have possibly a
quorum. Yeah.
So that way that they're able to attend, because we want everybody to learn and have their experience in the budget, share their thought process where we want to be. So that was very, very interesting. We are also talking about some, we annexed North Park in 2016.
Okay.
So we're talking about some infrastructure.
Is that the trailer
upgrades.
park area?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we're talking about some infrastructure upgrades that we will be facing in the near future. Then we heard another business from our councilors. And at this time, I'd like to thank Kent Bratcher for his service. Of course, Ray Miller, our mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem Terry Hill. They've done a good job of leading our city, and Terry was our budget and finance chairman. Previously to that, it was Bill Rogers. So the new mayor, we'll have to appoint a new chairperson for budget and finance.
Yeah, I don't
And
think you want to be appointed to that.
No,
Because
but-
look, Bill left, Terry's left, so
That means that if the incoming mayor's hearing me, I do not want to be budget chairman. Since you brought that up, I didn't think about that.
now you'll be sworn in for your next term.
Yes, sir.
And George Mullen will be sworn in for his second term.
Correct.
His second term. And then the new councilors will be, as you said, Dickie Townley
And Wade Nelson.
And
then the mayor.
And then the mayor, of course. Now, Jeff stays on the council.
So he doesn't have to be sworn
He
in
doesn't
or
have to-
nothing because
right.
he ran on the off-term cycle.
Okay.
So
you'll have two new councilors and a new mayor making up the city council
Yes, sir.
at your next meeting after
and
April 1st.
it's really exciting. Sometimes it's like getting a new boss. You don't know what to expect till you start having the conversation. Say, okay, and the conversations we have with the incoming mayor is that we all have to have a thought process out there, a plan, a vision to execute. And we are looking at the budget. We've been fortunate the last few months with the GRTs that are coming in because of the construction and the turnover and everything that's happened over at Navajo, Holly Frontier, now.
HF Sinclair, yeah. They bought the dinosaur.
Yeah. So,
growing up, we had Sinclair stations up in Iowa. And
did you know that when I met my wife in '82, her uncle ran a little service station in Walsenburg, and it was a Sinclair.
It was a Sinclair, yeah. I was like that, and then when I moved away from the Midwest, they didn't have them down south. And there's a few out west,
Right.
but not.
But it's very, very interesting that we get to. What we've also done is come to realization that we've been fortunate with our GRTs, and so now we just have to handle those and balance those with the new coming council and where we need to lead our city in the future.
Yeah.
And it's not like you get a wish list and you wish, for this and that, because we still have to be diligent in what we have in our reserves and try to maintain a number there that's comfortable by all.
Sure.
So,
because you have to look at things like one-time expenses,
correct.
like deferred maintenance. Are there things we can buy now that we've put off now that we have a little extra money? But then you look at other things that are going to be reoccurring expenses that are going to obligate future
councils.
Yeah.
One thing that we have to really look at is that during these last years is we've been really diligent in things that we needed. Now comes reality, because you're going to pay for those things that you've been holding off on. And fortunately that we've had some private donors and things that help us out with these things. But for example, in our maintenance of mainly our police units, trying to keep them up, trying to keep them going. Then you have the ongoing thing of we're trying to get a salary survey done to where we're more in line with everybody else. So we've got a lot of activities going on, a lot of thought process going on, and of course with the new council, once we all get to meet, we'll get to express what we feel is a desired need and what we need to focus on.
Yeah. Then there's maintenance things that come up. I noticed out there at the new Public Works complex out there, the old Halliburton thing, the building that has like the cloth or the tarp
Yes.
roof, that looks like it got messed up by one of the recent windstorms.
And so you have no control of some of those things. So then you have to count, is that a $50,000 fix or is that a $100,000 fix?
Yeah.
Or do you just redesign and start putting more money in it?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of one of those things. But our biggest focus is just trying to maintain what we have and replace what's needed. If we need a new trash truck or something out there for the sanitation department, that's what we need to focus. And as we all see the rising costs of everything, they're not cheap.
Right.
And so, during the pandemic, we were lucky enough to get a couple of vans, for the seniors. We were able to get a pumper truck, and so through capital outlay through our legislators in Santa Fe, so that saved the taxpayers. I know the pumper truck was $1.4 million.
Wow.
The vac truck that Byron got for infrastructure was like $450,000.
Wow.
And then we got the 2 vans for the Commission on Aging, so you could figure between those 2, because they're handicap access and things like that, another $100,000.
Let me ask you this: the governor vetoed the junior bill. Were there any projects that were in that affected Artesia?
Not that I know of, but we are hoping that the projects that we had really put in the forefront in our priorities was some funding for the 20th Street project and for the 1st to 13th Street Hermosa project with some infrastructure projects. So when we were doing our prioritization, we were trying to prioritize something that we could really get help in. And I don't remember which one, but it's like a $12 million project between both of them, or 11 to 12 million. And Mayor Miller had recommended that we set $1 million for each project aside as part of our contribution to try to entice them to give us that capital outlay money.
Okay.
So we had a foresight of some of these things, and of course some of that comes out of different funding, whether it comes out of the general fund, or if it comes out of the facilities fund, or because they're self-maintained as far as their funding goes.
Yeah.
The infrastructure fund.
Well, 20th will be nice when they finally get started on that. It's going to be a pain in the neck while it's going on, but it'll be nice when it's done.
Yeah, I mean, we look back at things, and we struggled with 13th Street. We struggled with it in the beginning. Struggled with all those other people. They did bear with us, and fortunately now you see it and you utilize it a lot, and you have that turning lane, and you have the bridge and things like that. So that turned out well in the beginning. You just didn't know how it was going to turn out.
Right. That did turn out well. And then Hermosa from 13th to 26th is really nice.
Really nice.
Yeah. So
and the thing about it is that now we have to maintain those.
Yeah. Now speaking of 26, from Hermosa to Maine, that's getting heavily traveled now with all the new housing developments out there. That's city. Is that city? Yes. Okay. And I'm sure that's in the.
That's in the process. It's just that where do you? It's like. You have to prioritize them, but yet you still got to shuffle your cards around a little bit, because they got to get done at some point in time.
Yeah.
And the thing is too is that really good about capitalizing on money that's out there that's available, having the foresight to apply for money, anything that's out there that's available, that's considered free money.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as free money, 'cause you still got to contribute. But
well, we paid it at some point in time, didn't we?
At some point in time, yeah. So that's kind of in the thought process, and that area. The thing about it is, like right now till July probably, that's going to get utilized a lot.
Yeah.
So
especially when the 30th.
So you have to
20th,
figure out another way. It's either going to be 20th, 13th, 1st Street, and Hermosa, or you go around to Castleberry and come back. So I think that project will be put off as long as we can, without jeopardizing. But I did have some concerns brought to my attention on 26th Street from Grand out to Hermosa.
Yeah.
And one of the guys said, need to make the road wider, need to do this, I understand that, but you also got to remember there's a bridge there.
That's right.
So you can't say we're going to go 3-lane or with a turning lane or whatever, or 4-lane or a shoulder, because then you get into, okay, is that property accessible? Are we going to get the right of way?
And bridges are expensive. If you think fire trucks and water trucks and vacuum trucks are expensive, build a bridge.
Well, and people, if you go out of town, you go big cities, and you see those big projects, those overpasses and new construction, just think what they have to go through with the costs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, all that concrete, all that rebar, all the material that they have to use to do that. And ours are small bridges, but they still, you know, have to be maintained.
Yeah.
And some of that comes from federal monies and state monies and grant monies. Some of it comes through our infrastructure department.
Yeah. I don't know how old that bridge is, but I'll be curious to see when you do get started on that project, when the bridge comes up, you know, do they replace it? Do they expand it? You know, what would be the recommendation that's made? Because the engineers are going to do all that.
You know, and it's right in the middle. You could say, well, you can go to one side of it, but then it's going to be awkward because you'll have to go down that side, whatever side you choose, the east or the west side, you have to go all the way down.
You know, I remember when they were doing the bridge out by Hope, and they had a traffic light. Because you remember they were running like one lane off the road while they were working on the bridge. And I remember coming back from a ball game, hitting that thing at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
And you wonder?
And what's this? I'm stopping at 1 o'clock in the morning. And all I could think of was the toll booth scene from the Blazing Saddles movie, where they didn't have enough dimes and they had to send somebody back into town to get dimes for the toll road, you know. And then they had one of those like that out here east of town.
Doing that. Yeah.
Doing that. So we'll see. We got just a few minutes left. Is there anything else from the meeting you'd like to share with us?
No, sir. It pretty well went well. And we wanted to thank those that are leaving and congratulate those that are incoming. And we look forward to a new council, you know, at our next meeting. For the sake of it's a learning process. We are trying to do our best to represent the city. Please understand that if anybody needs anything, we're on the website. We're visible. I would like to encourage more people to attend our meetings and show excitement. And, you know, you and I have talked about maybe at one point in time getting together and maybe streaming those meetings so that people are able to see it. But during the election process, I didn't have an opponent, but I saw all the other candidates that did have an opponent, and they wanted us to be more transparent. They wanted this and that. Please come to our meetings, share your input, give us your information. We have a couple of ideas in process about having some town hall meetings to get people a chance to speak to us on certain projects, on certain things, whether it be recreation, whether it be the water, whether it be streets and infrastructure. So
yeah, let us know. We'll be
plans.
there to help put those out there too. So
appreciate that, but appreciate everyone and thank all of those voters in District 1 who reelected me for another 4 years. So, but
you got a few votes.
Yeah, but I'm really excited and looking forward to the next 4 years.
That's great. And so swearing in day is April 1st at 5:30, and that's when the mayor and the 2 new councilors plus the 2 returning councilors will be sworn in. Then the swearing at the city council will be on April 8th.
Okay, let me correct that.
Okay.
Because I just was going through some notes. So our first actual meeting will be April the 12th, which will be the second Tuesday of the month. I don't know why I had the 8th in mind, because I think at one time we thought the 8th was going to be the swearing in. But by state statute, we have to do it on the 1st.
Okay, so April 1st will be the swearing in, and then the first city council meeting is the 12th, which is the second Tuesday of April.
Yes, sir. The second and fourth Tuesday of every month.
That was my joke. The swearing in is on April 1st. The swearing at begins on April 12th.
April Fool's Day, yeah. So maybe we can call these other councilors and say, hey, don't even show up. It was an April Fool's joke.
There you go.
What happens?
Ooh,
thank you.
Let's ponder that. All right, Councilor Raul Rodriguez, thank you so much for coming in.
Appreciate it.